All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the fourth part of the show, we are going to now take a look at the college football matchups for this weekend, as well as taking a look at the early slate of games for Sunday. But I did want to get into looking at the college football playoff rankings before we do anything, because I was supposed to do that the other day and then I forgot. So this is what we have. So at 1, you got Oregon. No surprise there. They're 10-0. I was going to say they're the only undefeated team, but we also have Indiana, who's 5. Then you got Ohio State at 2, Texas at 3, Penn State 4, Indiana 5, BYU 6, Tennessee 7, Notre Dame 8, Miami 9, Alabama 10, Ole Miss 11, Georgia 12, Boise State 13, SMU 14, Texas A&M 15, Kansas State 16, Colorado 17, Washington State 18, Louisville 19, Clemson 20, South Carolina 21, LSU 22, Missouri 23, Army 24, and then Tulane at 25. So Indiana has a big game this week, and that is against Ohio State, at Ohio State. That is a huge game for them. And, talking about it in the production meeting as well, if they lose this game, I mean, it could be like a Florida State scenario where they just flat out miss out on the playoffs. So it's a huge game for them. They have been a surprise team this year. And, if they could win at Ohio State, that would go a long way. Oregon, they got Wisconsin and Washington the next 2 games. I mean, they should win both of those. It would be surprised if they end up losing. But, yeah, if they win both, I mean, they're staying at that one spot. Texas, they got Arkansas this week, Kentucky next week, and then Texas A&M the last week of the season. I feel like they should win all those games. Penn State losing their first game to Ohio State a couple weeks ago. They got Purdue, Minnesota, and Maryland. I feel like they should win all those games. Georgia falling 9 spots, which is a surprise. They just lost to Ole Miss 28-10. Carson Beck did not play well in that game. 186 yards passing, no touchdowns, and a pick. He also had 2 fumbles, and he did lose one. So they got Tennessee, who's 7th. And this is a home game for them, so, we'll see what happens there. They need to win that game. Alabama, they're actually going up against Mercer, who's 9-1 on the season, but they should win that game. Then they got Oklahoma and Auburn to close out the year. But those are the rankings right now. And, we'll see what happens this week. We'll take a look at the matchups here. So I know I went through some of them. But, yeah, you got Tulane and Navy, Clemson and Pitt, Colorado and Utah. Texas, like I said, is playing Arkansas. Ohio State's playing Northwestern. I think they should win that. Alabama against Mercer, who's 9-1, but I think they should win that. LSU taking on Florida. Again, got a feel for Florida and the schedule that they've had. It's been a tough one for them. They've had to play Tennessee, Georgia, Texas. They had Miami early on in the season. I don't really trust Miami. Ever since that Virginia Tech game, I was not surprised that they lost last week. They lost to Georgia Tech. Texas beat Florida. Ohio State was all over Purdue. They won 45-0. Indiana beat Michigan 20-15. That was a close game. Ole Miss beat Georgia 28-10. Colorado 7-2, 41-27. They won over the Red Raiders. Eston Genti continues his unbelievable season. 34 carries, 209 yards, and 3 touchdowns. That was against Nevada. Curious to see where he ends up in the NFL draft. Penn State had a bounce-back game, 35-6 over Washington. So they're 8-1. Alabama all over LSU. I took LSU. So I was wrong there. 42-13. They blew them out. Notre Dame blew out Florida State. We talked about Florida State for a bit before, but, I mean, they lost. Well, not even that. They went undefeated last year, and now they're 1-9. Just disaster of a season for them. They lose 52-3 to Notre Dame. Oregon 39-18 over Maryland. But so we'll see what happens this week. There are some good games. Like I said, Tennessee and Georgia. You also got 23 ranked Missouri against 21 ranked South Carolina. And then, like I said, uh, early on in the day, I mean, you also have LSU in Florida, like I said. Um, but we'll see. We'll see what happens this weekend. But we're getting closer and closer to the playoffs there, bowl games. So, got a lot of big stuff coming up. All right, so now let's take a look at the NFL slate, or the early slate for this Sunday. So, you got the Packers coming off of a bye against the Bears. Bears are 4-5. They made a change at offensive coordinator, and actually the line opened up at it was at 6.5. Now it's down to 5.5. I do like the Packers to win this game, but do the Bears put together a better offensive showing, with the change, or is it going to be more of the same? The points is tough to go by because Jordan Love has turned the ball over this year. He's had a problem with that. But the Bears, they just have not put up points these last few weeks. They haven't scored an offensive touchdown since the Commanders-Bears game from a couple weeks ago. So I think the Packers win. Not really sure what to do in terms of do the Bears cover or not, because it is a big number. But then again, Packers are coming off of a bye, so we'll see. Then we got the 2-8 Jaguars against the 8-1 Lions. Right now the Lions are 14-point favorites. There is no Trevor Lawrence in this game. It's going to be Mac Jones again. I mean, I think the Lions, it's a really big number, and it's really tough to lay the points there, or take the points. But I think the Lions should win by 3 scores. The Jaguars, it's a lost season for them. Mac Jones didn't play great against the Vikings. I don't really expect him to play well in this spot. I mean, maybe they put up some points, but I think the Lions should win comfortably at home, so I'm going to take them in this game after their dramatic. I mean, then again, they had that dramatic win against the Texans. Maybe this is a trap game. Who knows? But I think I'm going to take the Lions. Then we got the Raiders and the Dolphins. Dolphins, picked up a big win against the Rams. Didn't expect them to do it, but they did. Their defense was the big story from that game. I like them to win this game, and I think they cover. I think Gardner Minshew's getting the start, and they continue to roll. The Raiders, it's a lost season for them. Then you got the Rams and the Patriots. Rams losing to the Dolphins, like I said. I like them to bounce back in this spot, but again, the Patriots are 4.5-point underdogs. They are playing better with Drake May quarterback, so maybe they do keep it within the number. But I think the Rams do win this game, and I think they get it going offensively again. Then you got the 3-7 Saints coming off of a win against the Falcons against the 2-7 Browns, who are coming off of a bye. Jameis Winston going up against one of his former teams. I actually like the Saints to win, them being at home. But I do think this will be a close game, but I'll take the Saints. And then we got the Vikings and the Titans. Titans are 6-point underdogs at home. Sam Darnold has not been playing great the last couple of weeks. I do think the Vikings win, but and Will Levis actually didn't look that bad against the Chargers. So maybe, they keep it within the number, but I do like the Vikings to win. And then we got the Jets, who are actually 4-point favorites at home against the Colts. Yeah, I don't really know what to do with this game. I really have no idea. Maybe Anthony Richardson's, I talked about him earlier in the week. Him sitting, he said that it helped him. So maybe it did, and he comes out and he plays well. I am going to take the Colts to cover, but it would not surprise me if the Jets win this game, because this is what happened a couple weeks ago against the Texans. They were favored and they ended up winning the game. So I am going to take the Colts to cover. But who wins this game? I mean, the Jets they look lost right now. I mean, they have been. So I guess, I pick against them, they'll win. If I don't pick against them and I end up picking them, then they lose. So I'll just take the Colts. But this is, both teams, if they want to keep their seasons alive, one of them has to win unless they tie. But I'm just going to take the Colts. I'm curious to see how Anthony Richardson looks. Did that 2-game absence help him? We're going to find out when these teams play against each other. I mean, this is a defense that struggles against the run. And, you got Jonathan Taylor, you got Anthony Richardson that likes to run the football. So, that could be a problem. But we'll see. But let me know what you guys think about the early slate of games in the NFL. Also, any college football matchups that intrigue you this weekend, let me know in the comments. So, we are going to take our final break of the show now. And then when we come back, we will discuss the late slate. We'll talk about the Sunday night game between the Bengals and the Chargers. And that will pretty much wrap up the show and wrap up this week for us. So, for one final time today, make sure to stick around. And we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.